Alrighty, so looking at your lithops, my first thought is immediately, and I think I did a video on this like a long time ago, which it couldn't have been that long ago. Like last spring would have been as long ago as it could have been. But I think I made a video on it if I'm not crazy, and I will look and see if I can find that link, but I'm not sure. When you buy, I don't know where you bought these, but it doesn't seem to matter. Well, it does matter. The most common reason it happens is that you buy them and they were overwatered, underlighted, whatever, incorrect medium. It can be a whole bunch of things, but basically they're stressed. And so here's one that someone sent me. My friend Erin sent me this one, and it's from Home Depot. I am hoping to hoard up quite a few from Home Depot so that I can make videos on them and show this whole process from beginning to end, because by the time I thought to show it on the video I made way back in the spring with those lithops, they were way far along in their process, and so I had to verbally describe it all. So I'm hoping to take videos and pictures as these go from looking like this to splitting this year, so that I can show it all and it can be clear. But what happens is, so they look like this, they're nice and big, you think yay, they're healthy, right? But at some point, for some reason, they get stressed. And so if they're overwatered and especially don't have enough sunlight, plants and their photosynthesis process and all of that, of course, you know, they absorb lots of nutrients and all kinds of goodness through the sun also, not just through their root system. So when they're deprived of light for a long time, it really stresses them. And when they go to make a new set of leaves, they do not have the energy to make this new set of leaves the same size or bigger like usually would happen if they were healthy. Typically they go up in size until they reach their full adult size, and then they just stay that size. But so I'll pull this one up just for comparison. Last year, and you'll see if I find the video, or if you find it, you'll see these ones, and they look bright red in the other videos, and they were really red for a while. But these three are leftovers of some of my Home Depot lithops that split poorly, or like this. And this one was larger than this. It was huge when I got it, and healthy, and I'm putting that in quotation marks. It wasn't rotting, nothing was wrong, but it hadn't had enough light and it had been overwatered, obviously. And so when it went to produce its next set of leaves, they were tiny. But this guy's been going for about a year since then. He's happy, he's healthy. He just is smaller, and the same with both of these. This one has adjusted more to a normal looking size, but this one was huge as well. It was about, this one kind of, I think was about half as big. So it was about yay big, and it shrunk to about half. This one shrunk to, yeah, it was about this big around also. And so you can see how much it shrunk when it opened up its new set of leaves. And it's been growing for, what, 8 months since then? And so at first I was having really fits trying to figure out what was going on when this first started happening, and I noticed that on plants that were grown from really reliable growers or had been really well taken care of, didn't do this nearly as often. Once in a great while you'll have it happen, but again, that's usually because the plant has been stressed in some way. But it just doesn't have the energy or the reserves to produce that big of a set of leaves. And when you completely restrict their water after they've been stressed for all winter long, sometimes they actually need a little bit of help to get established, like I've talked about, of soaking really hard ones. If their root system, if you get them and replant them during the period where they're splitting and trying to develop new leaves inside, even if they've been kind of well cared for, that can stress the plant too much because its root system isn't allowed to develop properly, because it's trying to put all of its energy into making new leaves, and it really doesn't have energy for both. And so, sorry, my thought just flew out of my head. I got distracted. I went, oh, I'm being way too long-winded, and then my thought just left. Yeah, they just don't have enough energy to do a new root system and a big set of leaves, or, you know, one that's about the same size. And so they just use whatever energy they have and make however big of a new set of leaves that they can. Yours should continue growing. Both of yours are large varieties, the types, especially the brownish one. is a very large variety, and so it should definitely get a lot bigger, but it will take a while. When these guys have been stressed, they produce a smaller set of leaves the next year, and then they put a lot of focus into their root systems that whole year a lot of times, and so the outside doesn't grow much. And keep in mind that with lithops, the outside, once the new set has completely died away, the outside really doesn't grow until a new set appears. So you have to kind of work your way back up once they've shrunk, so to speak, which is kind of sad. But the good thing is that these guys who have been big and have had a stressful period and get smaller are way easier to take care of than seedlings that are at this same size. They don't get fragile like that. They're still older, more mature plants. They just have shrunk, and they're just kind of getting their size back. Now, I am uncertain personally, because I don't know yet, of mine that have done this, because most of mine that are from a place like Home Depot or Lithops or Lowe's or Walmart or somewhere like that are only a year old or so, and so I can't say this with certainty because it hasn't happened on my other ones like this. But I am not positive if they will ever get back to their normal size. I assume they will. I can't imagine that being stressed for 1 year, damages or does something for all of their life. I can't imagine it. But I do know that it takes quite a lot longer to catch up for them. But it's not harmful. So when you see these leaves splitting, which I have 2 of these that she sent me, which is awesome, and I have like 3 more that I purchased from Walmart that have definitely been overwatered. So when they split, this should be really good examples for me to make videos of this, of how much smaller the inside is, and do an explanation, and etc., etc. Also, the problem that can happen is when it goes from a really large lithop to a really, or lithops, I keep saying it in a singular form. I get to focusing, and anyways, when they go from the big to the smaller, the outer leaves obviously have a lot more moisture in them than the new set, which is kind of backwards. Typically, the new set would take up pretty much all of the moisture of the old set of leaves because it's going to be that size or larger. But in this situation, sometimes rot can set in because the new guy is a lot smaller and the old set of leaves are still feeding it moisture, feeding it moisture, feeding it moisture. And it can take a lot longer for the outside leaves to shrivel up. And if someone goes, well, it's been months and months and I just can't imagine it doesn't need a drink, and drenches them, and they're in the wrong kind of potting medium, etc., then it can cause really fast rot and death. And a lot of times people in post contribute that to the fact that it was smaller. They'll say, well, a tiny little new lithops leaf set came out, and obviously something was wrong with the plant, and then it died. Well, kind of. The plant was very stressed, and any plant in a stressed state is going to have fits, right? And so the tiger's jaw video that I made a few days ago showing how they just disintegrate when they're stressed and the tissue is stretched and tight and full, instead of more wrinkled, and it's not really wrinkled, but it's just not tight and plump and bulging round like the lithops that you usually see in big box stores. When their tissue is stretched that much, it weakens the cell walls. It just does. And so then an overwatering is way, way more likely to cause rupturing in the cells, which is what makes it disintegrate like that and just fall apart, which is what happens with lithops a lot of times. And so, yeah, just keep in mind that they really, really behave different. And so when they're stressed, and so when people get them in a very stressed condition, they think, man, these guys are so picky, and I just can't make them happy, and yada yada. Well, it really isn't your fault. Which I'm not meaning you in particular. I'm just meaning the people talking about that. It's really not their fault. It's that, yes, they are really, really picky when they're stressed. Just like us, when we get lack of sleep and haven't eaten and whatever, we're gonna be a lot more cranky and react a lot more easily and be more likely to catch viruses and whatnot, and the plants are just the same. It's just not super easy to tell when these guys are stressed because we're so used to shriveled and not plump, meaning stressed, and plump and tight and firm, meaning happy. And so people are like, oh, this was a super happy lithops, and then it just died. Well, it wasn't actually happy. It was actually tight, and the cell walls were stretched like an elastic band to their very, very tips. And then when there's extra stress added to that, then it's really, really easy for those cells to just burst. And yeah. Anyways, I may have to end up uploading this to YouTube because it may be too long to post to Facebook. Good grief. So if this ends up going to YouTube, I am answering a question from our Facebook group, and the question was, why is the leaves, he had a nice big lithops, I don't know how big it was originally, but you know, a big one that seemed very happy and healthy, and when it shed its leaves, it got a lot smaller, and then it's been a whole year and they haven't really grown or done anything at all. And his question was, is it gonna grow? What's happening? Why is it so little? And my question was, did it used to be bigger, and when it shed its leaves, was it smaller? And he was like, yes. And so that is what spurred this video on. I was like, this happens all the time with stressed, overwatered lithops. The next set of leaves they produce is small, and that's one of the ways you can tell if they're happy or not, is if they are producing similar sized lithops or leaves, sorry. The new sets of leaves are similarly sized or larger, or if they're way smaller, usually that means that guy was stressed. And it can be for a myriad of reasons. It doesn't have to be that they were overwatered and underlighted. It can be for other reasons, but generally, in my experience and from all of my research and whatnot, it seems to be stress. But for all of the lithops that seem to do this, I don't see people talking about it. It's really odd. In the literature, in books, I don't ever see them mentioning why they sometimes produce smaller leaves, or even commenting that they sometimes produce smaller leaves. So I'm not sure if it's just that the writers of the books take such good care of their plants and buy them from reputable places, and so they don't come across this problem, or what. But like I said, I have only seen it in stressed lithops that I knew for sure had been stressed. And the ones that came from much more reputable places that were in good, you know, mix, etc., behaved much, much better. Now these guys, I was paranoid they were going to rot when they split and came out so much smaller for a lot of reasons, especially this guy. This guy I did not think was going to survive. And so I put these guys in pumice, and there's a little bit of stuff down below, but and they were in pure pumice for a few months after they changed leaves, so that I could water them throughout the summer a little bit more, because I knew they had been so stressed last year that I really wanted their roots to develop. And then after a few months, I planted them in a little bit of more other things other than pumice, and then just put pumice around the top little bit. But anyways, you can see some of the leaves that are still from last year, the little remnants of the leaves. That one's gonna come off finally. Yay! But we'll see what they do this year. We'll see after this this last year of babying them. We'll see what these guys do when they start splitting, and I'm excited to see. I'm not sure if the stress from last year was so great, or if they will really recover, if they'll be about the same size, or what. We shall see, because they're not quite splitting yet. This variety tends to be, which I need to write it down in a way that I can memorize how to pronounce it. It's the one that starts with an A, and I'm not even remembering how to spell it. It's so terrible. But they're a larger, the brown kind that are reddish brownish that we see a lot, you know, like these. They can have quite a few different type markings and all be the same ones. But these guys, now I forgot what I was saying. Wow. My brain just, but this variety, I don't know. Anyways, hopefully it wasn't too important. But yeah, my thoughts are just that your guys were stressed, and so they're producing a smaller set of leaves, and they should grow. Wait and see what happens with this next split and see what they do, but they should start getting back into the swing of things, as long as they've been getting good care this year. If you've only had them for a few months, it may not be enough to Oh no, but that's not right. You have had them for more than a few months because you said they split last year and got smaller. So you have had them. So as long as they've been getting fairly good care this year and plenty of light and stuff, they should either produce a similarly sized set. Sometimes the next year they don't produce a bigger set quite yet. They're still kind of recovering or something. And so then, but it should happen, and they should be fine, even though it is really, really odd when they go from, you know, golf ball size to that's about the size of a penny here. So anyways, all right, I will talk to you guys later. It definitely looks like this is going to have to be uploaded on YouTube. So I will talk to you guys later, and happy growing.